Good morning, everyone. Welcome to my podcast. My name is Corrina, and I'm coming to you from the Pacific Northwest, where it is about 6:10 a.m. and it's starting to get light. I live in the Pacific Northwest. I think I already said that. With my partner, our two kitties, and my two horses, which I am walking out to the barn to feed. It has been a week. An interesting week full of changes, I think, and aha moments and other things that I'll get into later. One piece of exciting news is that I bought a bicycle. So I have been craving riding my bike for quite a while, and having horses really cuts into that time, especially when you work full time. So I've had to let go of some ideas I've had about having horses. Well, not having horses, that's not right. I'm going to keep my horses, so don't be alarmed. But just about the time that I spend with them and my goals for them, I guess. So I've scaled back on a lot of that so I can get back to really enjoying some things that I have enjoyed throughout my life, and one of those is bicycle riding, and I'd like to do a couple bicycle tours. So I bought a gravel bicycle, which is kind of a cross between a road bike and a mountain bike. I have both. Both bikes are 17 years old, and I've ridden the bejeebers out of them. So it was time to get a new bike and do some bike packing. Hopefully, that's the goal. There's Odin waiting very patiently for his breakfast. Do some bike packing, so I need to do some training for that. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. As you can see, I'm at the barn and the boys want to be fed. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the knitting portion and conversation portion of my podcast. If you saw my earlier segment, you will know that it has been winter this week. I feel like the camera angle is kind of funny, but I'm not going to fiddle with it. I spent a lot of time fiddling with it. Shall we talk about knitting, and then I'll get on into the life stuff. Just first of all, hope you have something nice to drink, because this could be a long episode, and I also hope you have something that you would like to work on. So first of all, I have two finished objects. This is a previous, what I'm wearing. It is the Misurina top by Caitlin Hunter, otherwise known as Boyland Knits. And let me stand up for you so you can see. This is unblocked. So what I did, and you can tell this is where it ended before. So very cropped. I typically wear something under it, but this is, my jeans, and these are like below my belly button. My jeans are here, and it ended, well, there was a little bit of ribbing, maybe a 1/2 inch of ribbing that was here, but that's just way too much space for me. So I ripped out the ribbing and added an additional, I don't know, gosh, that's got to be at least like 3.5 inches to it. So I will probably block this after I get done recording, but I wanted to show this to you. This is part of my Frog My Knits cowl that I'm working on this year, and certainly invite you to join along if you like. My plan was to wear like a tank top or something under this. It's a fingering weight yarn. I knit this out of Brooklyn tweed overtones, and the colorways are Goldfinch, which is this gold color, and then this is, it's the name of a flower, and it is going to come to me. It's a very, very bright hollyhock. I knew if I kept talking, I would get to it. So The other thing that you might notice is that my hair is straight. So I went to the hairdresser today, and it's like sometimes I get my hair cut twice a year, sometimes I get it 4 times a year. This is the last time I got my hair cut was in December, and my hairdresser likes to straighten it. I think she does it for her own amusement. That is fine with me. It will go in a braid when I go out to feed the horses. And then when it gets wet, either from the weather or a shower, it will go back to its normal exuberant state. Is that what I should call it? So right now, it feels kind of weird. I think I look kind of weird. Maybe I don't. Maybe I don't because I always have it behind my ears, but if I pull it forward and kind of wear it forward like I'm trying to be something, then it definitely looks different to me. Shall we get on with my second finished object? These are still wet. These are my intersection socks. This is from the 52 Weeks of Socks by Laine Publications, Laine. So I used a Patons Kroy yarn, which is what the pattern calls for. It doesn't necessarily call for this style of yarn that Patons Kroy offers. I've got my computer over here because I have a lot to talk about and I don't want to lose track. But I think it does fine showing up the cable design. So this is an all over cable to the heel, and then the foot is also cabled. So it's actually a toe up sock. On one sock I did the Judy's Magic Cast On, and it's an invisible cast on. And then the second sock, for some reason, I just could not figure it out. So I did the figure 8 cast on, which is not quite invisible, especially when your yarn changes color right there. Still, it's fine. These socks don't exactly match. So I have a picture on Instagram, and I'll try to remember to post a picture at the end of this video of how much yarn I had left. And it was literally like a string's worth of yarn. So I definitely played yarn chicken with these. And I think I did 48 rows in the leg and then 48 rows in the foot. So the leg is a little bit tighter because of the cables, which makes it nice and snuggy. So I did wet block these. I'm not sure I'm gonna like that the foot is kind of long, so I will probably wear these for a couple days after they dry and then throw them in the washing machine. And that usually tightens up to my liking. Two finished objects. Can you believe that? I have 2 finished objects. And I know that the last time I recorded that my second sock was very close. So not a surprise. It's just that when when you have a lot of when I have a lot of projects on the needles, and I work on them each a little bit every day, they all get done all at once. It's kind of cool. What else do I want to talk about? I'm going to talk about more knitting before I talk about kind of the rest of the thing, the rest of what is on my mind. So my next one I'm going to show you, I've made a significant amount of progress. This is a Pacific Knits cowl, colorwork cowl. This is the Cryptid cowl, and you can see this Cryptid here is Bigfoot, and the cowl goes around, and it's just Bigfoot walking through the forest. Very cool. It's mostly 2-color work. There are points in here, so from this section here where it's like the trees sticking up into the sky, that is 3. You have to manage 3 strands of yarn. I was thinking of doing maybe intarsia, which I've never done before. I mean, I understand the concept of having like these little bobbins of yarn, but I just decided I was going to hold 2 strands in my left hand, the 2 that I wasn't knitting, and then knit with my right. Typically I knit left-handed, but if I'm managing 3 strands of yarn, knitting with my right and managing the yarns with my left was the easier option. So what this cowl does, you will see a purl row right here. It folds over, and then this is going to be the inside. And the inside part is another cryptid. I chose the Loch Ness Monster. And it will be upside down, so this will be reversible. I just want to talk about the yarn a little bit before I talk about the pattern. So on this side, I just completely changed my mind on what I was going to do. The gray is supposed to be the main color, and this red is a provisional crocheted cast on. And then this is just kind of a little border. This is the purple, dark purple is spin cycle yarn. It's a sport weight. And then the gray is a Knit Picks yarn. And these three colors here are also, no, I'm sorry. The purple is still the spin cycle, and the other two are the Knit Picks yarns. And even though they're all sport weight, the spin cycle is significantly thinner in gauge than the other two. I don't think it's going to make a difference. I mean, I like the way it looks. I think I'm going to like the way it wears. I think this is just going to be fun. The pattern again is Pacific Knit Co. She is a local to me, Seattle designer. And here is a cartoon of her wearing the cowl. I don't know if there's a picture in here. It's kind of a picture in progress. I mean, she offers different options. So you can do a single side, you could do, and the double side, and I opted for the double side. So you might remember that recently I finished a infinity cowl that has holiday doodles. I really enjoy doing color work, as you can tell, given this and the other, the holiday doodle cowl I just finished. What do I want to say about the yarns? The Knit Picks yarns are, let me get the tag out so I can share it with you. It's a high desert sport weight. This color, which is the sky and the cryptid, or no, it's the cryptid in the background, contrast color 1, is a tweed. So it is birch tweed. And then the other colors are solid, also high desert sport weight. Let me find the this is the spin cycle, and it is merino wool, sport weight. And this is Nocturne. Here is the label. So this skein has 200 yards, and I think I can check here with the let me just look at the main color. This is the gray of this sport weight. This high desert is Wood Smokes Heather, so it's 148. So that's a big difference in sport weight. And of course, you know, I ordered this yarn online, the Knit Picks yarn online, and I was at the store. So without my other skeins of yarn, I just saw it and had to have it. That's how it goes. I think it'll work out just fine. So this has been my morning knitting, my morning before work knitting. This is my Washington State Environmental Health Association bag from a conference I went to last year. Did I present? No, I did not present to that conference last year. I was brand new at my current job, and I was just still trying to understand what my job was. So pardon me for a drink of tea. By the way, I will have a link to my project page on this Misurina. What do I want to show you next? How about, I think, so this is a bag that my mom made me. Quilted bag with a zipper. It's perfect for socks, which is what I use it for. So I had just cast these on. This is a K. Jones pattern. This is a patron only, and I'm about to lose my stitches, so pardon me. Oh, no, I'm not. Well, I guess I kind of was, so I'm glad I caught it. I'm on the heel flap. So it is a cuff down, and these are colored pop socks because hers are pink and orange. When she was writing the pattern, this is how she explains it, is that it was like pop. And it's a patron only pattern, so that's another reason why she calls it pop socks. So I had the pink, which is a West Yorkshire Spinners. I don't remember the colorway because the label is not in the center, which is where I usually put it. And then this, which I bought from a local yarn store. Well, I bought from a local yarn store as well. Just a different local yarn store. And I bought these around Christmas time for the K. Jones Nutcracker socks. And I don't remember I have said this yarn numerous times, and I could go back into my notes. Actually, why don't I go back into my notes? Because I could go back into December and take a look and see what I had for yarn. That is the nice thing about having your computer with you, is that you can do that. I'm going to go back a lot. I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing this, so I hope you're not bored yet. Well, I know I had it written down at some point, but again, it's a yarn that I had trouble pronouncing. I think it's a French. It has a French name. So this is the sock number 1. I am using Chowgu red lace. These are size 0 in the bamboo, and I am knitting the smallest size because you've heard me say it before, if you are a returning viewer, that I have skinny feet, long skinny feet. So here is what the socks look like. These are her pop socks, and that's what mine will look like, except mine will be more yellow than, and she used a much lighter pink than I am using. So like I said, I am in the heel flap, and this has just a kind of a cool detail that there is, mostly stockinette stitch, and then this cool detail at the first 2 stripes. Can't remember. I want to say there's probably 16 rows, and this is 1 by 1 rib. So I have just I really enjoy, I didn't think I would be a sock knitter. I always thought I would be a garment knitter. But I feel like I could have too many hand knit sweaters. And I'm a little bit, I hesitate to say that. I mean, I said it. It just seems like the wrong thing to say. Because you can always have short sleeve sweaters like this one. And, I live in Washington State. It doesn't normally get terribly hot here. So, and this is perfectly adequate for a shoulder season. So in other words, spring and fall, and even summer. Sometimes it can be kind of cold here. So this can be a perfect summer piece, and you probably can't have too many garments. So I take that back. And since I'm in this mode of frogging my knits, Frog My Knits 2024, if you want to participate, I have another short sleeve top that I may frog. It's just it's too big, and I mean I wore it not too long ago. I wore it, I think, probably with a turtleneck or a long sleeve shirt, and it works fine that way. It's just not a summer top as intended. So maybe I won't frog it. I'll just keep it as a kind of a winter layering piece, because it is nice to wear something like that. It's V-neck. It's the rocket tee I have a picture of it on my project page, my Ravelry project page, and I keep seeing a glare in my glasses, so, well, let me take them off. So it's a mohair and fingering weight mix. You can either do stripes of fingering weight, mohair, fingering weight, mohair, or I held double, and then to differentiate between the stripes, I did a purl row. I got that idea from a friend of mine who did the same thing. And it tended to be, for me, it tended to be too big. Sometimes that happens. I have a looser gauge, and I haven't really found gauge swatches to be terribly productive. Typically what happens is I'll do a gauge swatch, my gauge is off for the prescribed needle and the prescribed yarn weight, and then so I change the needle size, and then my project ends up being way too big, or I don't like the fabric. So I go back to the prescribed needle and the prescribed yarn and knit the size that I think it should be, and most of the time it works out. The other thing I could do is possibly, no, it's totally, I was thinking of throwing it in the washing machine. It would totally felt if I did that. So I'm not going to do that. Okay. Third project I have on the needles, and it was a new cast on when I showed it last time. I've just made some progress on it since I finished this the other night. I am using, let me tell you what the pattern, it's the Calliope pattern. I think this is free. This is what it looks like. So a long sleeve sweater. I am going to be playing yarn chicken. So we'll probably not make it quite as long, and the sleeves definitely not as long. I wouldn't like sleeves that long. I mean, look how long they are. In the first place, I like my sleeves to be bracelet length. So, and if they end up being 3/4 length, that is fine too. So I have, this is an indie dyed yarn by, I will have that, oops. It is by, it is in my show notes. I don't think I erased it. Nativity, and I have a link to that. Yes, Nativity is an independent yarn dyer. So very pretty. This is the Fiddle Bits. It's a sock yarn. I bought 2 skeins of it because he often offers twin sets. And so I bought 2, not really sure what I was going to do with it, but I just really like the color. And then I found some mohair that I am pairing it with. And let me show you what I am working on. So this is a top-down raglan sweater. So, and this is what it looks like so far. So I am about to, once I reach 4 inches, then I change to the main size needles. So these are a US size 6 Chogu red lace, and I will switch to a size 7, but I don't have those in Chogu red lace. I think they are, they're an interchangeable set. So they're these, the wooden ones, probably from Knit Picks is my guess. So these are the ones I was using on my Riverside sweater. So I had to finish that so I could start this, although I could have certainly started this since the ribbing is so deep on this. So I only have 2 skeins. I think it calls for 3. Like I said, I'm going to play yarn check-in, and I am knitting I'm knitting the 3rd size, and really, quite honestly, from the pattern, it looks like a lot of the stitches are about the same. Same cast on for quite a, or same cast on and same rate of growth. So I'm not really sure when it changes to, it looks like it changes when, no, not really. I was thinking of when you set up the raglan for the sleeves. So I don't know, I'll let you know. But really it's, I mean, repeat for each time. It's you know, all the first three numbers are the same. So I think it's when the increases sleeve stitches, it looks like it increases a little bit more. So I'll have to see how that goes, and I'll definitely keep you posted on this. So again, this is Calliope, and that is the details about the pattern. So this is a bag. I talked about this a little bit last time. I got this from a Kickstarter. It's just what lies underneath, and it's a, you know, a body positivity organization. I can't remember much more than it was just, you know, bringing about confidence and about who you are and what you're shaped like and what you look like. And it, you know, this could have been for somebody, for people who have had, say, disfiguring, like maybe from surgery, like from a cancer surgery, or maybe an accident, or a significant birth defect that required some sort of surgery intervention is the word I'm trying to come up with. So it could have been that, and just, you know, accepting that your scars are who you are, and there's no need to be ashamed of them or hide them. The cats were playing outside that glass door. They are not happy that I am in here without them, but you know, they have me most of the time, most days. So okay, thank you for staying with me for this long. It's 24 minutes in on the knitting portion. So the topic, so if you want to not hear the rest of the stuff I want to talk about, you know, I'll see you next time. Thanks for sticking around, and you know, enjoy your knitting. For the rest of you who would like to stick around, thanks, and I, you know, certainly welcome any conversation about this. But the title of this podcast is Changes, and I think part of it is driven by the change of the season. I mean, we've had winter. You saw my intro video where it is snowing. It is March, and it is snowing. And I'm in the Pacific Northwest. We're not used to that. So, and I just have felt this sort of restlessness and feeling, I don't know if you get this feeling where it's almost like you just have this grip on some goals and expectations, yet it feels like there's an internal battle about them, about being able to achieve them. And the internal battle just really kind of has to do, I think, with, you know, how you need to prioritize your time. You know, I work full time still, and I think even people who don't have an outside job to go to, you know, you might be retired, or maybe your full-time life is you're a mother with children who are at home. I mean, that's a job you never get to clock out of. What I'm trying to say is, no matter who you are, we all have 24 hours that we spend every day. And there are a lot of demands on our time. And I find sometimes that when I am setting a goal, and I'm thinking specifically about the goals I set for my riding goals with my horses. And if you've been around for a while, you've heard me talk about endurance. You've heard me talk about fox hunting. You've heard me talk about pony club and, you know, doing all these things. And, you know, I would kind of entertain the idea for a while and sort of gear myself up to train or participate and commit to the activities that are required for that. And I was just finding it was taking up, there were other things that were going by the wayside, other things that I need to do or enjoy doing. And that just wasn't okay. So I have a sticky note on my desk down in the basement that just says, let it go. And really what the sticky note pertains to is, you know, my inner critic, or I guess that's the best word. You know, I don't know whether your inner critic has a personality, but mine does. And I realize that my inner critic is trying to protect me by helping me succeed, I guess, is, I guess, the shortcut way I want to describe that. And so in order to keep my inner critic from worrying and bothering me, I just like let it go. It's really not, it's not life or death. It's not an emergency. If I let a goal go by the wayside that doesn't have a very good fit, it's not a moral failing on my part. It's just a change in direction. And also, if if you've been here for a while, that I spend a lot of time talking about my horses and their well-being and what my responsibility is towards them. And my responsibility, if you're new here, if my responsibility towards my horses are to help them understand how to live in a human world. Both my horses are Mustangs. They were born on the range in central and eastern Oregon and were gathered at different stages, gathered by the Bureau of Land Management. Traumatizing experience. They were in holding corrals. Odin was only in a holding corral for a short time, and then he was picked up by a qualified trainer who basically started the process of helping him understand how to get along in the human world. Bragi, my younger one, is he was gathered as a much younger horse. I'm guessing he was probably 6 months old, and which was probably more terrifying than it was for Odin, because Odin was 6, or coming on his six year birthday, and he had a much greater sense of self. And Bragi, 6 months old, I mean, he's still a child, basically, if I'm going to think about this in human terms. So, and he was in holding for, I would say, a couple years, because I got him in 2020, and he was picked up by a different qualified trainer who just did the basic manners, like how to wear a halter, how to pick up your feet, so the farrier, how to stand tied so that, you know, I can brush you, how to get in the horse trailer. So he understands all of those things. He does not like getting in the horse trailer. So I have been spending a lot of time in the last 6 months going very slowly. I mean, you can get a horse in a horse trailer. It may not be pretty, and it may, in fact, be quite traumatizing for them. And then it takes a long time for them to let go of that. So my responsibility is to teach these horses how to be confident in doing some of those things that we humans ask them to do that they do not understand. I remember Odin's first farrier appointment 6 years ago. I've had him for almost 6 years. And the farrier went to pick up his foot. And Odin looked at her like, why in the world would you want to pick up my foot? For us, it's very routine. It's like, well, we need to trim your feet so that your feet remain healthy and, you know, you're not tripping all over yourself. In the wild, horses' feet, because of the ground that they traverse, is, you know, their feet kind of stay trimmed. But, you know, here domestically, the footing is often a lot softer, and they don't self-trim, nor do they get nearly as much exercise in domestic life as they do out in the wild. So all that to say, and, you know, I think some of the other questions horses have is like, why in the world would you want me to get in a horse trailer? I certainly don't want to get in a horse trailer. Why do you need me to eat my hay in a stall. I don't want to be in a stall. A stall is a closed space, and it's scary in here for me because I can't see my enemies being predators coming. Not that there are any predators here that would necessarily try to corner. I mean, we have mountain lions around here, so never mind. Don't listen to me. And it's just important to them that they keep track of those things. And we as humans, and humans are predators. So, how we gain a horse's trust, who doesn't understand at first that, we're not out there hunting them, thinking about eating them. So, the bond between a horse and a human is, I think, more significant than it is between a dog and a human, because a dog and a human can be part of the same pack. We're both predators, and there is a hierarchy, a social hierarchy among dogs. I'm not a professional dog trainer, so if you have a lot of experience with dogs, you can certainly tell me that I am not making any sense, and I would probably believe you. This is the way I think about it, though. Horses and humans are from the opposite ends of the spectrum. Humans are predators, horses are prey animals, and we are both very well aware of that. Once humans decide that they're not going to be a predator, they have to behave in a way that they're not a predator, and that's how we gain horses' trust. So I've spent a lot of time explaining this, and I hope this is worthwhile to you, because one thing that's very important to me is to advocate for horses. I grew up with friends who had horses. I have loved horses my entire life. And I think all my growing up years, horses were for riding and having fun with, and I really didn't take into account their thoughts and feelings until I was much older. They were there for my use. Horses are a commodity, and I think there are a lot of people in the horse business who feel that way, and that is how they approach their business, or they approach their own horses. Over the last, I guess it's been about 8 or 9 years now, I have started to think of horses as much differently, a partner, and have become much more aware of their thoughts and feelings. And consequently, I have become much more aware of other people's thoughts and feelings. I mean, I definitely used to approach things from a me-centered point of view. And I have changed over the years to a definitely more outward, trying to understand, compassionate and empathetic point of view. Trying to understand, my cat's point of view. Trying to understand, and explain to my cats, I'm sure it would be much more fun for you to be outside, but it's not safe out there for you. There are coyotes, there are bobcats, there are mountain lions, and there are fast-moving cars, none of which are going to do you any good, and you're safe and healthy indoors. And plus, we have a lot of birds around here, and bunnies, and I really don't want to see any dead ones on our porch. So that was a long-winded explanation of how I'm adjusting my expectations with my horses. It is still very much my job to help my horses understand how to live in a human world. That is definitely still my priority. Still want to teach Bragi how to get in the trailer. Still want to teach him how to go out on trail rides with Odin and me when we go. What I want to let go of is the idea that Odin and I need to do something. I think Odin likes to get out about once a week, twice a week, and go out on the trails and maybe meet some of his other horse friends that I ride with. But, he doesn't have any Olympic aspirations. Not that I have Olympic aspirations. He doesn't have any show jumping aspirations or any other aspirations like that. I mean, yes, he enjoys doing different things. He enjoys some variety. I think he also very much enjoys peace and quiet and knowing, where his next meals come from. I think he has adjusted to domestic life very well. And Bragi does too. I don't think he quite knows it yet. He's still, Brady's funny. He has opinions on how his domestic life should be. And sometimes he has trouble letting go of that. And he definitely doesn't understand why we do the things we do. Like, why are we playing this game where I touch my nose to a traffic cone? For me, there's, I have a progression in the lesson of like, well, this is a marker for you to stand here and just wait for my next signal. He enjoys the game and he does it well, and he likes feeling successful, and horses have a very strong sense of cooperation. So if they do something that is in cooperation with what you, the leader, if you have established yourself as the leader, as a trustworthy and gentle leader, they are more than happy to do it. So it's like, okay, I'll touch my nose to this traffic cone and move my haunches over here. Sure, why not? I get a cookie for it, and you told me I did a good job. So that's what I'm trying to say. Just, I have brought my expectations from these kind of goals where I need to schedule some sort of riding thing in every day of my days off. And it's hard, especially this time of year when the weather is not very reliable. It's still cold. It can be raining and windy and snowing sideways. And it's like, it's just not that important. I'd rather stay inside and knit. So letting go. Now this was, I'm sure, a much more of a bigger deal to me than it is to anyone else, but it is a big deal for me to let go of a goal or an idea that I have in my head. So thanks for listening to that. I want to talk about the next thing. I bought a bicycle. So one of my many loves in life is bicycling. I bicycled when I was a kid. I just remember, like on summer nights after dinner, just going for a bike ride. And it, wouldn't even be very far. I mean, maybe 5 or 6 miles. And it was just fun. And it's just a way for me to daydream. And I've always had a bicycle. When Randy and I first met, our first year together, we did a bicycle trip from Anacortes, where I lived at the time, all the way down the coast to San Francisco. It was awesome. I used to bike commute to my job in Mount Vernon from Anacortes or from Stanwood, wherever I was living at the time. And, it was just a way for me to get some exercise in and be in a good mood when I got to work, and a way to get out of work and have a change of mind by the time I got home. It's something that driving could not do. I did this year round, winter, maybe not when it was snowing sideways, but if it was raining, it really didn't bother me. And realizing that is information. Is like, I'm not willing to get my horse out and ride in the rain, but I am willing to get on my bicycle. I haven't lately, and ride in the rain, or I used to. Cats are knocking at the door now. It's kind of funny. So, and it's ever since I've had horses and, felt this responsibility to them, I haven't done nearly as much cycling. The other part of that is that I had an older dog who needed to go to daycare in the last couple of years of her life. And, you can't bicycle commute and take a dog to daycare at the same time. So that was another factor. And, I was happy to do that. And I'm happy to take care of my responsibilities and not bicycle. But I don't have those responsibilities now. And I've been thinking about doing some bike packing, so that is more like off pavement type riding, or having the option of being on pavement or on gravel logging roads. So if you're not familiar, there's a popular sport, it's been around for, I don't know, probably close to a decade now, called gravel biking. And it's a gravel bike is a hybrid. It's not a hybrid. There used to be something called a hybrid bike, and these are, I think, somewhat different. They're more of a mountain bike type frame set up, sort of like a road bike in terms of like geometry. with bigger and fatter tires. Well, bigger tires than a mountain bike, but fatter tires than a road bike. So it is something you can ride on gravel, and it is something you can ride on the road. So I bought one of those. It was on sale. It's last year's model. They're trying to make, bike stores are trying to make room for the 2025, or maybe even 2020. Well, I don't even know what. It's 2024 now. So I probably bought it. I could have bought a 2023. I don't know. It doesn't make any difference to me. Anyway, it is a Salsa bicycle, Salsa Cutthroat. It's a gravel bike, and it is a carbon fiber frame, so nice and light. And Salsa is made in, well, the company's in the Midwest. The parts are probably made all over the world, mostly in Asia, like many things are. So I got it last Sunday and went on 2 rides. There were 2 sunshiny days this week after the snow that we had earlier in the week. And I went on 2 very short rides, so for a total of like 10 miles. So one of the things that I'd like to do for my birthday, which is in June, I've taken the week off and hopefully go on a bike packing trip. So Randy and I are planning that. Randy is an avid bicyclist. He has, and mostly mountain biking and gravel biking. I think he has 5 or 6 bicycles, and his are pretty high quality bicycles. And he does a lot of bicycling all the time. He doesn't like road riding, but he has a route that he can ride to work. He has to ride a little bit on the road up to the trail system and then get down to a bike path, a paved bike path, and he can ride that right into work because the bike path goes right past his office. So that's another change. Bicycle, yay! So, expect to see more bicycle content in the future, I hope, if all goes well. And the other thing I've been thinking about, this is my last topic, so thanks for sticking with me. I hope you've gotten a lot done on your project, is that I want to change my podcast name. I'm going to change my podcast name so that it's more understandable what it is I'm doing. I'm going to call it the Equestrian Knitter. So equestrian because, my passion and advocacy for horses, particularly wild horses, my journey with horsemanship, and trying to basically evolve into a better human being through horsemanship and learning the spirit of cooperation and trust and being present from horses. And and obviously another great passion of mine is knitting. I mean, that is what I do. And I'm not going to add cycling, the Equestrian Knitter cyclist. I could do that, but that seems silly. I would say, because I do other things too. I do gardening, and I like to cook and stuff like that. So that is the other big change. So if you notice that you have subscribed to the Knitting Equestrian Nomad, and all of a sudden your subscription is now to the Equestrian Knitter, that is still me. So I hope you stay with that change. And what my plan is to feature content that is not just one thing. So bicycling and other outdoors adventures, knitting, of course, and because I do that all the time. And gardening when it's more gardening season. I've tried indoor gardening. It's just, I don't know. It's not working out for me. So I have found that I've started unsubscribing to the podcasts that just focus on knitting. My favorite podcasts are the ones that bring another piece of life, particularly from another part of the country. Although, quite honestly, I don't know any other knitting podcasts that are in the Pacific Northwest. There is one that's out on the Olympic Peninsula, the Woolen Forest, I think is the name of her podcast. She has, she's a fiber arts professional and has, and she's a mother, and she's very calming presence. And she just doesn't podcast very often is what I'm trying to say. I'm not sure if I'm subscribed to her anymore, but my favorites, the Bakery Bears. I talk about them all the time. I am a patron of theirs. They offer a lot for their patronage. Arnie and Carlos. Let me finish talking about the Bakery Bears. I mean, they offer a lot in their regular. I think they put out episodes every 2 weeks. They have knitting content. They have, the history of England content, and they also have some cooking features. And also, Kay is offering a book club. And so far, I've read both books that she has talked about. Arnie and Carlos, they're knitwear designers, but they are also just fun. And they talk a lot about other things besides knitting. Some Crazy Sock Lady, hers is really pretty much knitting content, but she also talks a lot about her family. Really enjoy her. Shannon Makes. She's another one. I found her from knitting, so I kind of am aware of my hair trying to exert its exuberance, and I would like it to just stay calm for a little bit. Shannon Makes. Again, I found that from a knitting episode that she did, but she is a Canadian circus performer, and she does a lot of vintage sewing, and I find her podcast fascinating. We Grow Wild. She is Italian. She and her partner are trying to restore an off-the-grid home, and she is a knitter. And Martina, the host, she's a young woman and post-college and young adult, just really trying to figure her way through life, taking care of herself and making her way in this world. And she's just a joy to watch. Legacy Knits podcast. So that's Legacy Fiber Arts. The mom is a yarn dyer. The daughter is a mother and creator. And I just really enjoy their podcast as well. The children, the two young girls, make frequent appearances, and that's fun. My Wool Mitten. So a woman sheep farmer in the Midwest. She is older than me by less than a decade, but I enjoy watching her episodes, and she almost always has a comment for me too. So hello, Carrie. And then Knit All the Yarn podcast, another knitter in the Midwest, and she is really a knitter. She's a stay-at-home mom with two girls in school, but I just, I don't know what it is. It was Lisa from Knit All the Yarn podcast that inspired me to start my own podcast. It was just like, hers was very basic, she recorded and maybe very minimal editing and then posted it to YouTube. And I was like, I can do that. So I did. And then I have some, there was another one I didn't list. She is also British, knitting expat. So when I first found her, she was in Dubai, I think. Her husband's job takes him all over the world, and they were in New York, and now they're back in England and have two girls. So I really enjoy. And she often blogs their family vacations, which I think are really fun. So I also have some horse videos or podcasts. So I really like the Horse Radio Network, and that is an audio podcast. Karen Rolfe, which is Dressage Naturally. She just has a expansive view of horses, and just really emphasizes the partnership, the human-horse partnership, rather than horses as a commodity. Shauna Karash Equine, she is a positive reinforcement horse trainer, and she has an interesting background from the days that she worked with marine mammals, and that's how she learned positive reinforcement. Because you're certainly not going to put a halter and lead rope on a killer whale and say, you will do this with me. And then Diary of an Endurance Rider. This is a Canadian woman, an older Canadian woman who she's been an endurance rider, and she had a goal of riding 100 miles. She had a health issue and I haven't seen her lately, so I hope she's doing okay. And then I have a couple gardening ones. So Grow Veg, British, about the same kind of climate that I have, and I really like the host. Spicy Mustache, another British one. I am a Britophile, Anglophile, I think is the word. And then there's a cooking one, Buon Appetiti. So it's my Italian grandmother cooks something. I think they are in the Northeast somewhere. Really enjoy. She demonstrates cooking some of her Italian, long-time Italian recipes, and she has a very strong Italian accent. Very enjoyable. What am I reading? I'm still reading Mass Murder by Lynn Bohart. That is the end of my podcast. This has been a long one. If you are still here, thank you very much. Spasiba, if you speak Russian. Gracias, if you speak Spanish. And I know more Russian than I know Spanish. I took Russian in college, in case you were wondering. And I think that's it. So until next time, take care. Have a great week. I am not sure if I am recording next week because we are traveling, but I will catch up with you next time. I am going to say goodbye and hope that my little clicker works.